Loneliness in adulthood can feel like a quiet storm, brewing beneath the surface of a seemingly full life. For many men, the days are packed with work, routines, and obligations, yet the evenings bring an unsettling silence, the absence of genuine companionship, the lack of shared laughter or deep conversations. This isn't the loneliness of complete isolation, but a subtle disconnection that creeps in as old friendships fade, social circles shrink, and the demands of life pull us inward. It's a struggle that touches countless adult men, amplified by cultural expectations of independence and strength, which often discourage reaching out or admitting vulnerability. The result can be a sense of emptiness, where days blend into one another without the anchor of purpose or connection. But what if loneliness isn't just a burden to bear, but a signal, a call to rediscover meaning? Stoicism, with its timeless emphasis on living in accordance with nature and virtue, offers a profound path forward. Inspired by Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, this philosophy reframes loneliness as an invitation to pursue purpose, turning inward isolation into outward fulfillment. By engaging in meaningful pursuits like mentorship or creative hobbies, you can alleviate loneliness, attracting like-minded people while finding solace in your own self-directed life. Zeno of Citium, born around 334 BC on the island of Cyprus, was no stranger to life's upheavals. A merchant who lost his fortune in a shipwreck, he arrived in Athens penniless and searching for direction. Rather than succumbing to despair, Zeno turned to philosophy, studying under Crates the Cynic and eventually founding Stoicism in the Stoa Poikile, the painted porch that gave the school its name. At the heart of Zeno's teachings is the idea of living in accordance with nature, aligning your actions with reason, virtue, and the universal order. Happiness is a good flow of life, Zeno proclaimed, meaning a life guided by purpose, not by fleeting emotions or external circumstances. For men facing loneliness today, Zeno's philosophy provides a powerful lens. Loneliness isn't a flaw, but a misalignment with nature's call to virtue and meaning. When we drift without purpose, we become disconnected not just from others, but from ourselves. Pursuing virtue, through justice, courage, wisdom, and temperance, reconnects us to the world, drawing in those who share our path. Zeno believed that humans are social by nature, designed to cooperate for the common good. We ought to act in such a way that we become worthy of being called rational beings, he taught, implying that purpose is not solitary but communal. Loneliness arises when we neglect this, chasing distractions instead of virtue. In modern terms, this might mean scrolling through social media for validation or burying ourselves in work to avoid the void. Zeno's solution is to seek meaning through pursuits that align with nature, activities that cultivate virtue and contribute to the greater whole. For example, mentorship reflects justice and wisdom, guiding others while reinforcing your own growth. Creative hobbies like writing or crafting embody temperance and courage, channeling energy into creation rather than consumption. These pursuits alleviate loneliness by reframing it as a signal. Your soul is urging you toward a life of significance, where connections form naturally as byproducts of shared virtue. Epictetus, a later Stoic, built on Zeno's foundation, emphasizing that purpose is the antidote to suffering. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters, Epictetus said, reminding us that loneliness is not fate but a response we can change. By pursuing purpose, you shift from passive isolation to active engagement, attracting like-minded people. Imagine dedicating time to mentorship, coaching a younger colleague or volunteering to teach a skill. This not only fills your days with meaning, but draws in others who value growth, creating bonds forged in mutual respect. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, echoed this in his Meditations. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Purposeful pursuits make you that good man, naturally pulling others toward you as virtue is magnetic. Seneca, Zeno's intellectual descendant, added depth with his letters, advising, "Life is long if you know how to use it." For men in their middle years, when loneliness might peak due to career plateaus or empty nests, this means viewing loneliness as a prompt to seek meaning independently. Creative hobbies, painting, writing journals, or playing an instrument, offer solace by filling the void with self-expression. These activities, aligned with Zeno's virtue of wisdom, foster fulfillment on your own terms, while opening doors to communities of creators. A man taking up woodworking, for instance, might join a local makers group where conversations flow from shared passion, easing into friendships without forced effort. Zeno's emphasis on nature reminds us that humans are meant to create and contribute, not merely consume. Loneliness dissipates when we live this truth. The beauty of Zeno's path is its gentleness. Loneliness is reframed not as a curse, but as a natural signal, much like hunger prompts eating. Man is disturbed not by things, but by the views which he takes of them, Epictetus noted, building on Zeno's ideas. By pursuing purpose, you change your view, finding fulfillment independently while naturally attracting connections. This is especially helpful for men who feel stuck. Purpose provides structure, turning aimless days into directed ones. Mentorship, for example, gives a sense of legacy, connecting you to others through guidance. Creative hobbies offer therapeutic release, reducing the emotional weight of loneliness. As you engage, like-minded people appear, fellow mentors, artists, or hobbyists who share your values, forming bonds that feel organic and enduring. To walk this path, set weekly goals for social outreach tied to values, as Zeno's virtue of justice calls for contribution. Start with self-reflection. Identify a purpose that resonates, like mentoring in your field or starting a hobby group. Then commit to one action weekly. Email a potential mentee or sign up for a class. This ties outreach to purpose, making it less daunting. Seneca advised, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." Use this to guide goals. This week, I'll mentor one person on career advice, sharing my experiences. This attracts connections while providing immediate meaning. To implement these strategies, begin with self-assessment, a cornerstone of Stoic practice that helps you build from a place of inner strength, especially if you have few friends and are navigating connections later in life. Epictetus recommends a mental review. What am I lacking in attaining freedom from passion? Adapt this to friendships by dedicating 10 to 15 minutes each evening to journaling 3 qualities you value in others, such as integrity, loyalty, or wisdom, and how you currently embody them in your own life. This exercise fosters self-sufficiency, reminding you that authentic friendships start with being the kind of person you'd want as a friend. For example, if you value integrity, reflect on a recent moment where you were honest in a small way, like admitting a mistake at work. If you're in your 40s or 50s with a sparse social circle, perhaps due to career focus or past relocations, this self-assessment provides solace by validating your loneliness as a temporary state, not a personal flaw. It empowers you to attract like-minded men by first cultivating those virtues yourself, reducing the intimidation of reaching out. Over time, review your journal entries to track growth, turning isolation into a period of preparation, much like Epictetus turned his enslavement into philosophical mastery. Next, seek virtue-aligned environments, but with a tailored approach for those rebuilding from scratch. Epictetus's discernment means choosing spaces where shared values naturally emerge, avoiding overwhelming social scenes that might feel forced for introverted or busy men. If you have few friends, start by identifying low-commitment activities that resonate with your interests and virtues. Philosophy meetups, book clubs on self-improvement, or volunteer groups focused on community service like mentoring youth or habitat restoration. Attend once a month initially, focusing on listening rather than leading conversations. As Seneca suggests, we should hunt out not only those who teach us, but those who talk with us. For men later in life, consider age-appropriate groups like men's discussion circles at local libraries, hiking clubs for over 40, or online Stoic forums where you can observe first. This low-pressure method allows friendships to develop organically. For instance, during a hike, a casual comment on resilience in nature could spark a conversation with another man facing similar life stages. If starting from zero feels daunting, begin virtually. Join a Reddit community like r/stoicism or a Facebook group for adult male book enthusiasts. to practice engagement without face-to-face anxiety. This reduces isolation by placing you among potential true friends who share virtues like perseverance, helping you form bonds without forcing extroversion. Initiate honest conversations thoughtfully, especially if your social skills feel rusty from years of limited interactions. Epictetus emphasizes truth as the foundation of virtue. Start with a value-based question that invites depth without overexposure, like, what's a challenge you've overcome lately that changed your perspective? This invites compatibility and reveals shared values, ideal for men seeking connections later in life who may fear rejection. If you have few friends, practice this in safe, low-stakes settings, perhaps with a coworker over lunch or an acquaintance from a hobby group. For example, at a philosophy meetup, follow up a discussion on Epictetus with, "How has self-sufficiency helped you in tough times?" This invites meaningful exchange. If they engage, nurture the bond with follow-up like a coffee invite. If not, release without resentment, as Stoicism teaches acceptance of what you can't control. This approach provides solace by framing loneliness as an opportunity to select quality connections, reducing the pressure of networking and allowing gradual trust building, which is crucial for men who've experienced friendship losses through divorce or relocation. Use negative visualization for motivation, a Stoic technique particularly helpful for those with sparse social networks. Epictetus taught envisioning loss to appreciate what you have. Spend 5 minutes daily imagining a life of complete isolation, then counter it by taking one small step toward connection, like messaging an old colleague with, "I've been thinking about our shared interest in history. How have you been?" This combats inertia, providing solace by showing that change is possible even later in life. For men in their 50s or beyond, visualize the regret of not reaching out, then act. Join a local men's group or reconnect via LinkedIn. This builds resilience, turning fear into action without overwhelming you. Set boundaries to protect your energy, essential if past experiences have made you wary of new connections. Epictetus says not to force relationships. If a connection feels superficial or draining, limit it politely, like, "I'm focusing on personal projects right now, but let's catch up in a month." This prevents burnout, allowing introverted men to engage on their terms, fostering sustainable bonds. For those with few friends, this means prioritizing quality. Decline invitations that don't align with values, freeing time for meaningful ones. Volunteer or mentor to forge bonds through purpose, a Stoic virtue of justice that creates connections naturally. Epictetus said, "What ought one to say then as each hardship comes?" I was practicing for this. Apply to loneliness. Volunteer weekly at a cause like coaching youth sports or community cleanups, attracting like-minded men without social pressure. Later in life, mentor younger professionals via alumni networks, sharing wisdom to build reciprocity. This provides solace by turning isolation into contribution, often leading to friendships with shared values. Read and discuss Stoic texts to connect intellectually. Epictetus's Enchiridion is a guide to self-sufficiency. Share passages in a small group or online forum like Stoic Discord channels. This suits introverts building friendships through ideas. Discuss how Epictetus's control dichotomy applies to loneliness, inviting vulnerability gradually. For men later in life, this low-effort entry point reduces barriers like fear of rejection, fostering bonds over time. Practice gratitude for existing ties, even if sparse. Seneca advised daily thanks. List 3 positive qualities in an acquaintance or family member, then express it subtly. "I appreciate your perspective on that issue." This strengthens bonds without effort, providing solace by highlighting potential in your current circle, motivating outreach. Embrace alone time as preparation, turning loneliness into strength. Epictetus viewed solitude as training. Use it for hobbies that attract friends, reading Stoic books, exercising in groups, or learning a skill like woodworking via classes. This self-sufficiency reduces desperation, making you more approachable. Later in life, this means viewing isolation as a season for growth, preparing you for authentic connections. Seek feedback from a trusted source if available, or a professional. Seneca's letters were dialogues. Ask a mentor or therapist, What patterns do I have that hinder friendships? This self-examination identifies barriers like fear of rejection, offering guided growth. For men with few friends, start with anonymous online forums, building confidence for real-life steps. In conclusion, Stoic strategies provide a gentle, empowering path to authentic friendships. By embracing Epictetus's self-sufficiency and virtue-based approach, you validate loneliness as a common struggle, then rebuild connections that respect your nature. This philosophy turns isolation into strength, fostering a life of genuine bonds and inner peace.